Working in OneNote as a standalone product is great, but one of the hallmarks of Microsoft is integration, and OneNote is no exception to that. There are two things that we can do to extend the usefulness of OneNote. The first is to take something called a side note. Side notes are little sniglets of information. Yes, I know, that's a very technical term. Sniglets of information we want to keep, but not necessarily in a notebook, or at least not yet. They're created by using the side note option. So how do we use that? Well, let's say that I've just finished a meeting about our implementation. I've recorded the audio from the person talking about the rollout plan and process. On my way out, somebody stops me and says that Missy has a good quick reference guide for Windows 7 that I might want to look at. Okay, well, I actually want to keep that piece of information. I'm not sure where I might want to store it, but I need to remind myself that I want to talk to Missy. So I'll use a keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-N. As you can see, this creates an untitled page. I can type whatever I need in here, kind of like a sticky note. Something like that is very easy to create. All I had to do is use my keyboard shortcut, type whatever I want, and then simply close this window. Notice on the lower right side of the screen, it tells me that the side note has been placed in my unfiled notes section, which is below the list of all my notebooks. Okay, well, that's good to know. Let's take a look and see where I can actually see that. The reason I have to be careful about looking for that is it's all the way down here on the left-hand side. This icon on the far bottom left is called Unfiled Notes. If I click that, this shows me where my note was stored, so don't worry about where it went. It will actually give you the little note via your system tray or your notification area, and it will always be on the bottom left side. Good for all those little sniglets of information that you may otherwise not know exactly where to store, or at least not at the moment. The second option that I have is to use OneNote in conjunction with other applications in the Office suite so that I can keep notes as I work. Let's see how this works. Again, using our scenario, I have an overview document that I got during my meeting, and I'll switch over to that so that you can see it. You can find this file called Windows 7 Deployment in your Chapter 9 Project Files folder. This was a document that was provided as part of the meeting. Now I'm ready to review it. Now here's our scenario for this document. Often when we're working through documents, we want to take notes or keep things about check something out, or is this accurate, or maybe I want to do something to follow up. The problem is normally if we're doing that, we either have to write it down on a piece of paper, a sticky note, or a notepad, and then find it later. Or I might use comments, but then the comments are part of the file. Sometimes neither of these is the best option. OneNote can come to our rescue. What we're going to do in this case is press Ctrl-Alt-D to dock OneNote to the side of my screen. Now, because I want to show you how it works, let me go back to OneNote for a second and do the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-Alt-D. An easy way to remember it is that D is for docking. This command docks my notebook to the right side of my screen. At the same time, it resizes my last active window, which in this case is the Word window, and tiles it to the left. So now I can see both windows at the same time, with the OneNote window being just a little smaller than the main application window I want to work in. I did all of that with this one keyboard shortcut. I didn't have to move and resize all of those windows manually. Now, as I start to work through my document and I'm looking at the different types of content that it has, maybe I'll scroll down through it. Read through the introduction, get to the major process points, and then I see something that catches my attention as I'm working. Easing fear of staff by clearly communicating implementation processes and providing learning opportunities at the time of rollout. Maybe I want to take a note about that. Well, great! I can do it the same way I always have been. I click into OneNote on the right-hand side and type whatever note I want. OneNote lets me know that when it's docked, it auto-links to the document. You can click to not show this again. For now, I'll press Enter to say OK. So I type everything that I want. In this case, it's a short sentence about researching some options for training, including different delivery options. And I also get to see that OneNote does include things like my spell check, so as I'm typing, I get to use common tools again. Again, the fluent interface and most of the things you're used to seeing and having in Office applications are here. So I'll quickly fix that. There we go, and now I have my note. Well, what makes this any different from just working with the notebook? What you may notice on the left-hand side of my note is a little word icon. This tells me that this is linked, and if I pause over it, I see a tooltip that comes up and gives me the name of the document. It came from Windows 7 deployment.docx, and then it says it has the other information, it was highlighted, providing learning opportunities at the time of rollout. This is going to mean that when I'm working in the notebook, when I'm looking at this note, even if I don't have the file open, I will know where it came from and I'll be able to quickly link to it. I'll get out of this particular mode and then get into my regular notebook. If I press Ctrl-Alt-D one more time, that's my magic keyboard command, that brings OneNote out of the docked mode. You need to be out of the docked mode to get back where you can work with all the other features of it. Once again, I can show you here that we have the option for looking at the Word document. And if I click on it, it will tell me that it's going to open a linked file, and then I could just say OK to open that file. So once again, we see this kind of round tripping of information, where even though technically I'm keeping notes in a separate application in a separate file, I can very easily and very quickly link back to whatever the source documents are, whether it's for reference or actual work and actions that I need to take on that particular file. This is very useful for me as I work with many different files at any given time, and it will also save me from having to find files to open them and instead give me instant access from within OneNote. But it's also really useful for people I collaborate with. If they're looking at this notebook and don't know exactly what document I was referring to in a note, they can simply look at the link, or they can use the link, and it will take them to where they need to go. Don't forget, OneNote also captured the text that I had selected in the document when I took the note. So this provides a context in which we can better understand what the note was about. Sometimes that means we don't even have to actually go to the file to find out what it's talking about. Now, I can't speak for everybody, but I know that often as I work, I need to keep these kinds of notes, and I've tried a variety of things, including keeping hard-written notes, sticky notes, notepads, using comments within the document, all kinds of stuff. This is much simpler. It also gives me more flexibility because I can enhance or expand those notes as well using all of the features that OneNote offers. It works the same way if you're working on the internet, doing research. You can be reviewing a PowerPoint presentation and much more. So basically, all of your Office applications are going to work along with this OneNote feature. And best of all, remember, you can always get back quickly to the source files with just a single click through the link you found in OneNote.